Today on Keynote.
Are you going to give them the resources to run the shop the way that they need to run the shop to make you the system that you dream of being? Then I think you have to put the money on the table.
My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16-hospital system and creator of This Week Health, where we are dedicated to transforming healthcare one connection at a time. Our Keynote show is designed to share conference-level value with you every week. Now, let's jump right into the episode. All right. It's Keynote for July 31st. Is it really July 31st? I don't know. It's sometime at the end of July. We'll see. Actually, we're recording this before that. We would never record on the day of. Our production team would kill us. But today, I have Drex DeFord, the Honorable Drex DeFord, and the lovely Sarah Richardson, who have joined us for what will be my last live Keynote until September, until our kickoff of our new stuff in September. So I'm glad to be doing this with you all. We're going to talk a little bit about the new stuff we have coming out. We're going to talk a little bit about, I don't know, we'll play some games, talk about CIO salaries. That's always a fun little topic to talk about. We'll do some other things, give people a little chance to experience the change we are anticipating for our shows and to give people a little sneak peek into what we're going to be doing in September. So welcome, y'all. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. We're in Minneapolis right now. So tonight, in a few hours, we'll do Minneapolis City Tour dinner. And then tomorrow we're in Chicago. So if people look back over their calendar, they might be able to figure out about when we're actually recording this. But
they'll have to do a lot of research. And Sarah, you know what I love about Sarah? No matter where she is, she's smiling and she's in her happy place because it looks like she's with all of her stuff in her room. But I know she's in a similar place to you.
That's because you told me when I started that I had to have branding that looked the same no matter where I went. And I'm the only one who does that.
Well,
so I follow instructions, even though most people would not know me for that being one of my superpowers.
Well, you know, Drex, nice bed in the background.
I do what I can. The decoration of the room really.
You know what I find the hardest of doing Zoom calls in hotel rooms is the lighting.
Oh, yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, clearly the window's coming in that way for you. And Drex, you have light coming from all different directions. Thanks for joining me. I know you guys are getting ready to go over to the City Tour dinner. I love the City Tour dinners because you just get loaded up with information on what's going on at health systems. I just finished a couple phone calls with CIOs today, and it's interesting. Everything from a new CEO, that's always an adventure. Have you guys ever gone through a new CEO as a CIO? You're both shaking your heads. How did that go? It was hard, wasn't it?
It was hard, except that it happened.
It couldn't have gone any worse than it did for me. I mean, quite frankly, I'm a former CIO of a 16-hospital system because of a CIO change or a CEO change. So yeah. I don't know if yours was worse than that, but that's how bad mine was.
There's a new person coming in. There's probably some opportunity where they want to have their own person. They may tell you that in advance. They may not. They may overtly tell you that, or they might just make life kind of miserable until you decide that this is a good time for you to look for a new gig. It's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen when there's a change at the top.
And you really just have to feel that out. You have to ask questions. It's almost like you're starting a new job with a new leader like that. All right. Well, hey, I want to talk about what we're going to be doing here in September. So September, we're going to be relaunching everything. This show will now be known as Keynote with Bill Russell. So it will be me 52 times a year. You will hear from me talking to somebody, healthcare leader, predominantly from health systems, but we'll go outside of that from time to time. And we'll focus on strategy execution from the CIO perspective. We'll continue to add spots to it. We've now started our CIO escape room, which I enjoy a lot. Reed was sort of the guinea pig for this, and I went on further, and I did it with Alan as well. So I'll give you a little taste of it. So for Reed, I think I gave him, your EHR vendor just went out of business and they've given you, I was nice. I said, they gave you 6 months to get off the platform. That's your CIO escape room. How are you going to escape? And he went through how he was going to escape that. I'm not asking you to answer that question. I'm asking, what other escape, would you put in front of a CIO and say, hey, figure this one out?
Okay, so I would go out a bit on a limb and say this organization hired a CIO from outside of healthcare for myriad reasons. And the person that they hired has historically come from an industry where their investment level in technology was about 10% of revenue. They forgot to ask that question in the interview process, and now they've been given the budget directive for next year, and the average IT spend is 2.5%. So they have to get there from there.
That's definitely very challenging, to say the least. I think the budget one I gave to Alan Smith. Alan is the CIO over at LifePoint Health out of Tennessee. And I think I gave him that. You've been given a 20% budget cut. And how do you ensure things continue to function? And his answer was good. I was really impressed. And actually, part of the reason for doing this is to hear their thinking, as opposed to, hey, tell me all the things that are going on in your health system. How do they think through problems? How do they navigate them? Drex, do you have one that we can throw out to CIOs?
I mean, I think mine probably has something to do with cybersecurity. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You just got called. You've been breached. What do you do for the first 60 minutes or something like that? I mean, maybe they have a plan. Maybe they don't have a plan. Maybe this is the unfortunate situation that when you ask them that question, they have to admit, I don't know.
Well, should I give them the escape room before they come on the show, or should I wait until they get on the show?
I think you wait. Well, I mean, a lot of it is just maybe depending on the question, but some of it kind of the spur of the moment is it's an emergency.
I don't want to get too close to home. Hey, a new CEO just stepped in and blah, blah, blah. How do you,
Right.
and they sit there and go, I really can't talk about this.
And you
'cause I
really
just-
don't like the new CEO. You like give a really
You really
pump up
don't
the
like it.
scenario.
Oh my God, that would be too much fun. So anyway, that's Keynote. That's what we're going to be doing with Keynote. Sarah, you're going to get your own channel. Like each one of these is going to be its own channel on, is it Apple Podcasts now and on Spotify?
Wherever you get your podcast.
Wherever you get your podcast. So you're going to be able to search Bill Russell, Drex DeFord, Sarah Richardson, and find our shows. This used to be one of our problems. Like people would say,
shows on 2 channels. Nobody knew where to find us.
Nobody knew where to find us. Well, now they'll know. They could just search for our names. So Sarah, tell us what you're going to be doing with your channel.
I love what we're doing with Flourish. So Flourish will still have a long format show every month, which will be like a deep dive into like a career conversation with a lauded industry expert. But then there's so much content, so many great conversations occurring out there from our town hall format and from other aspects of what we do, that we are going to do Flourish sound bites. So I'll be doing 20-minute spot interviews on different topics with industry experts as well. And so that'll be more digestible, like your commute to and from, you can listen to a couple of those. And then when we're at events or other aspects, we'll have 5 and 7 minute little sound bites that we'll tackle as well if there's something of great interest. So it gets to mix up all the different things that we're hearing about in real time. So the long format will be the staple, but then we'll have sound bites as often as there is content and ideas to be recording. So some months you might have 2 or 3 or 4, and sometimes you might have more. So looking forward to be able to hear more voices in our industry. And that expands from people that are working their way up through the system to those that have like retired and made it into legacy status. So I cover the gamut of the career journey, and I'm grateful we get to do that with Flourish.
Absolutely. And by the way, happy birthday.
That was yesterday, but thank you.
I know, but
now they really know when it is.
Yeah, now they do know when it was.
And I'm really 51. So no matter, thank you, Zoom filter.
So Drex, Unhacked, you're going to go in a different direction and just talk about governance. Is that right?
So we're only going to talk. No, I'm just kidding. Hack will stay largely the same. It's been a giant experiment since I got here, exactly how I wanted and what I wanted to do with Unhack. I've kind of picked up on a little bit of a pattern now with doing 2 CISOs at the same time. And that can be kind of fun because often I sort of pick up that relationship at summits or at city tour dinners, and you see people who really like each other or connect with each other. And so I can bring them both into the show at the same time. Essentially, the platform kind of continues to be the same. The people, process, and technology that do the cybersecurity that protects patients and families. So it'll still be that. There's some little spin-offs I'm doing inside of that. I've kind of personally gotten into synthetic media lately. And so I've done a show called Unfake, which will be part of the Unhack podcast series. And that is about all of the deep fake stuff that's happening right now. There's some really incredible stuff. I've talked about some of the stuff that's happening with the North Koreans. I have a show that I'm working on right now that is actually maybe I shouldn't give it away. I'll give it away a little bit. There's a band that has topped the charts in Spotify. Very impressive, really cool sounding band. Turns out the band is fake, the music is fake, the instruments are fake. And that has actually driven some decisions by some of the music offering services to think twice about how they allow music to be placed on their platforms. So it's amazing because when you hear the songs, they're actually really
Velvet
good.
Sundown, is that the one you've been following?
Sundown, yeah, that's it.
Same. That it's crazy. They literally have millions of followers and they're fake.
It is.
They're synthetic. I love that. Synthetic.
How are they going to do a concert?
Well,
We could be them. Like we could go out on tour.
Well, I mean, this is a thing, Bill. You could sit down and with the right prompt, you could build your own band and you could get your own million downloads. That's the whole point. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly of synthetic media. There's a lot of good things it can do, but there's also, it's like with every other piece of tech. The tech itself isn't good or bad. It's the way that it's used that is good and bad. And I talk about both the good and the bad side of synthetic media.
I love that you're playing with that. Our production team is playing with that. I've played with it as well. I just, every time my production team sends me something, I'm like, feels to me like it's still about a year away. I mean, for the video, the audio, you can do all sorts of stuff.
So that continuous shot is a problem today. But if you just think about the stuff that's happened with Google VO and some of the other technology just in the last 6 months, the advancements that have happened so quickly, I think I'm with you. I mean, I don't know that we're 6 months or a year away from just being able to.
You think it might be 15 days away with the pace at which things are going?
You never know. You never know like what somebody is going to release next Monday. So
let's see.
We're going to do a Today Show once in a while too, right? The three of us.
We're going to do a News Day as well. So I didn't let everything out of the bag, but our News Day show will now be a lot like this. It'll be the three of us, except talking about the headlines. And actually, we might as well give people a flavor of that. I'll head over to, here's a good one from Becker's. CIO's tech wish list, what IT leaders would buy with a blank check. And they have a bunch of people in here who have said what they would buy with a blank check. I'm more curious what you guys would do. If you were still in your role as CIO and you were given a blank check, what's the thing you would buy?
I would probably take the great hard look at the modernization of the infrastructure that we have in place. If I had the opportunity to look at my health system and say, I'm going to empty everything out and start over again, build it from scratch the way it should be built, what really should be here on-prem, what should be off in the cloud or in a service provider's bucket, I'd probably look at that and spend my money building the infrastructure platform for the future of my health system.
I like that. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
I would invest in a true hardcore enterprise data platform with real-time, I think, health system connectivity in the backbone of all that. And you're going to say, oh, those things already exist. I'm like, oh, no. But if you could unlock everything else, if you had like unified real-time trusted data, and we all know how messy all of the data is, and then you can pull in the AI components, you can pull in the pop health, you can pull in all the operational metrics, patient engagement, all that stuff hits walls today. But I would do it cloud native, like in that kind of a lake house, I guess I would say. I would integrate EHR and non-EHR. So devices, wearables, et cetera, revenue cycle staffing, and make sure everybody understands the democratization of the data. So you had the right self-service analytics, predictive modeling, even the orchestration of care to a degree, and then have it stream real time. So you could have all this information and dashboards that are making real-time decisions. And I think the bonus, this is a nod to Drex, I tie in governance and make sure that access models and the cross-functional adoption are all there. So ROI is a real story, but all of those pieces would be, they'd be safe, they would be governed, they would be utilized, et cetera. And so you ditch the miscellaneous 9 columns in your data fields and the things that just get stuck everywhere. And then I wouldn't have to fight with my CFO to fund the data program, because often your CFO will say, well, it's already been stood up. Why are we spending so much money on it? Well, because that's everything that runs, inclusive of AI and anything else. All that data has to be perfectly right. Let's make sure we take the time and money to get it perfectly right.
I'm going between two things. One is building new data centers and upgrading all the cracks and PDUs, or the second would be updating all the AV equipment and all the conference rooms. I'm struggling between those two things.
Some
because
good AV, man. That would be, yeah, that'd be awesome.
and the more advanced it got, the more challenging it got to troubleshoot.
And if you were ever in that room,
Oh,
They
it's
wanted to
you.
fix it.
help desk guy, you were always the person who they look to fix it.
Oh man, when I went into St. Joe's, the first thing that my team came to me and said, "Hey, we need to spend $4 million on PDUs and crack units."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot go to the board for the first time and say, "Look, $4 million, I need crack units." They're going to look at me like, first of all, no one knows what you're talking about. And so their minds just start to wander. It's like,
It sounds good though. Yeah,
like,
crack unit.
no. And
Shoot,
for those who
yeah.
don't know, computer room air conditioners, exactly. It's just short for that. No, if I had a blank check, I'd be looking at automation in a big way. And it actually touches on what both of you talked about. It would touch on the architecture. I talked to a chief information security and technology officer today, and I was asking him about his environment and something he was excited about. And he was talking about patching. And patching isn't all that sexy. It isn't all that exciting. But they've gotten patching to the point where they're doing it within an hour of notification. And I thought, that is sexy. In this world, that's really powerful. And I said, well, how you doing it? And sure enough, it's a level of automation that would elude many health systems because they still need to do a lot of the back end work to enable that level of automation.
Understanding what they have. And then the other part is it's a lot of patching if you do it. There's also a big prioritization process. So it's a lot of that kind of thinking around problems. Like I don't have to patch everything. I have to patch the things that are actually important or exposed.
Yeah.
Some people just like, we're going to brute force everything.
This is how much of a slacker I was. I was trying to get our team to 30 days of patching things, like 30 days post. And this was servers. I mean, this isn't like,
Yeah. And
you
not
know,
everything.
and I felt like I was driving hard to get them to a 30-day patch window on servers. And this person was telling me 60 minutes. I was like, yes, that's beautiful.
Look how long it took us to get there because we all did that. We all had to chase the tickets, create the dashboard that showed how long tickets have been open, segment the network to be able to have things that were cordoned off because of the FDA and so many med devices. I mean, think of how much orchestration it was to have a healthy patching plan even 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
All right, we'll have a little fun with this one. If you were on the hiring committee, you were brought in as an advisor to a health system. I'll do something I know. 16 hospital system, 3 states, headquartered in Southern California. What are you going to recommend to the hiring board for a compensation package for the CIO? I mean, do you base the compensation based on where the headquarters is? I think you do.
If you require the person to be there, and I'm going to just be very honest, if you're running a health system, you better be on site every day.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
Right.
Sorry if it's not popular. I think you do the geographical assessment of that, but we've looked into this recently. But when you mentioned a median base salary for health system CIOs, at least the top 22 percentile is over $600,000. And so it would not be crazy to say cash comp, et cetera, you're reaching the 6 to 750, 850 range for that type of thing in California. And you may have some other like long-term comp components, or if it's publicly traded, definitely you'd want the stock and the vesting schedules. So if you put that on of 22%, I'd say you're closer. I mean, you may be pulling in $1 million with some of the long-term comp opportunities.
Drex, any other considerations? I mean, technology is pretty important these days, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, it is. You can't do modern healthcare without technology. I almost got fired from a job at one point by telling the board that what they didn't realize yet, they were an information services business that happened to be in the healthcare business. They were information services company that happened to be in the healthcare business. So I think you got to look at this. I want to say part of this is an HR problem. So you look at the HR person.
Have you ever
look at
had
the
to sit in
CEO.
front of HR and justify salaries? It's
All the time.
You sit there with the HR person and the CEO and maybe the board chair, and you kind of have a conversation about, tell me what you're trying to do. Are you trying to hire somebody at the median salary of the market? If you are, you're going to get this kind of a person. Do you want Kobe Bryant? Do you want a top-notch all-star ball player to come in here and actually run this shop for you? And are you going to give them the resources to run the shop the way that they need to run the shop to make you the system that you dream of being? then I think you have to put the money on the table. And the money on the table could be comp and it could be all those things, but it may also be like, we're going to give you money for a house. We're really going to go out there to make sure that you can get here quickly, be comfortable, private school for your kids, whatever it is that is interesting to that all-star player.
One of the things I loved about working for a major healthcare system at one point was that you were often required to relocate, and it was full service. And that's still true for a lot of organizations. And they'd buy your house if it didn't sell, and it was based on fair market value, and they'd help you with everything that went into that. And so temporary housing and a bonus for moving and all those things, it made that part of the transition much more palatable, because moving every 3 years takes its toll after a while.
Yeah.
We see some of these things that happen in some markets too, where CIOs have told me, I'm not super comfortable with this, but because of the level of chief information security officer that we wanted for the organization, the CISO is going to get paid more than I do. So it depends on the level of player that you want. That really is what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think that's the direction I was going to go. It depends. My friend gave me this word phenotype, and I want to use it in a sentence. It depends on the phenotype. It depends on what you're trying to hire. If it's a turnaround, if it's like the IT is absolutely a mess and you have to turn it around, you have to consider that. When Common Spirit was a mess, they went out and got Daniel Barchi. And I don't think they said, well, Daniel, we can only pay you $200,000 a year. They essentially said, can you fix this? And he was probably, if you had asked me, top 3 picks to fix what's going on at Common Spirit, I would have said Daniel Barchi in the top 3 without blinking. And I think most people would agree with me on that. And so if that's the case, if he's one of the top 3 people that can solve your problems, not only your immediate problems, but the immediate problems were an indication of other issues throughout the system.
Absolutely.
He was the person to not only get the security shop in order, but also get the rest of it in order. All the things we've talked about, the infrastructure and the service management and just the data and all that stuff across the board. It depends on your phenotype. I call him a great wartime CIO.
Uh-huh.
He's probably a good peacetime CIO as well, but he's a great wartime CIO. He is very level-headed, makes good decisions. But if you just want the traditional CIO, keep the trains running, that kind of stuff, you don't need to pay top dollar. You can find those people who can keep the data center running, keep your Epic implementation going well, keep your physicians and your nurses as happy as you can keep them without doing a ton of innovation and that kind of stuff. And so there's the innovation phenotype, there's the business transformation person. A lot of people are getting the CIDO, the connotation, who I don't think deserve this CIDO connotation because we haven't defined it. I would define the D as business transformation. When we say CIO, it's traditional information. When we say D, it's how is technology going to change our business? And I'm not sure everybody who got that CIDO title deserves that CIDO title. And I'm not going to name names. Don't look at me like that.
Well, this has been one of those things that's going on for a while too, right? The director of information technology at an organization became the CIO. It was an easy way for them to give the person a new title, but not really give them a raise or whatever, just sort of modernize their title. So that's happened to us before, and it'll happen to us again in the future, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's definitely different phenotypes, just like there are different phenotypes for the organizations too. What they may want and what may fit with them may not be the all-star ball player. That might actually tear the organization apart if they tried to hire somebody like that.
And different CIOs are different people. Sarah, you were a CIDO at your last stop. And when I talked to you about digital, I mean, you were literally transforming the cost model of the business. That's the level you were engaged in the business, that the technology was changing the business itself. That's what I think a D is. Do you guys agree with that distinction, or is there a different way I should be looking at that?
I think Sarah was a great example of that, because there were things that they wanted to do in her last gig that were not things that you could buy. And so she actually went out and built and ran development shops to create products to do the things that they wanted to do. That is a level beyond what a lot of our healthcare CIOs, CIDOs are today.
So happy birthday, Sarah. We're talking kindly about,
Right in front of your face.
yeah, and most of them don't want to run dev shops. It is a different skill set. It's a tough path to get on to
I've
run.
always taken roles though, Bill, that either other people didn't want or thought were going to be too messy. Because half the fun, I mean, honestly, keeping the lights on might be the most boring thing to do ever, unless structurally that's what your life needs. And
That's
if
because you're not that phenotype.
I'm not that phenotype. However, I'm never going to dismiss a person who has chosen that, because they may have chosen it for several reasons. Maybe they want to raise a family. Maybe they don't want to have to relocate. Maybe lots of things happen for that. So what I don't ever want anybody to believe is that we don't think those leaders are also needed in the ecosystem.
Oh, they're absolutely needed. I'll tell you that the minute the data center goes down, everyone knows they're needed.
Yeah.
And sometimes the CIDOs get so focused on the other stuff that they lose sight of the core of the business, which is what if that integration engine isn't working and those millions of messages aren't going across that system, you know what happens? People can't check in. So,
And nobody thought to think about the crack units in the data center and made sure that they were updated to
But
your
he said no, Drex. At least it was documented that
That's
we
true.
asked for $4 million and got told to go fly $2 million worth of kites.
Here's another really interesting part of this too. The person that you're probably trying to hire isn't somebody who's probably unemployed and applying online to the job that you're advertising, right?
Yeah.
You're probably going to have to go find the Dan Barchys of the world, figure out the phenotype, find the people, and then figure out how you're going to pry them out of a job that they're pretty happy with right now. That's not easy to do either.
and Sarah, thank you. This is what you do for me, is like you identify the things I say and you're like, this is what people just heard, and say, Bill, did you just say that the CIDOs that shouldn't have the D title aren't worthwhile? And the answer to that is absolutely not. They're probably got the D title because they're great CIOs. The question is, are they going to make that transition to business transformation from just implementing technology across the board? And that's the only thing I'm questioning. I don't want to communicate I'm questioning their value. Although my job in the three of us is to be the one who says crazy things. And then you guys.
You are a bit of the contrarian, and that's what
Clean up
I enjoy
aisle
you.
3. Bill's been in aisle 3.
Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Just a reminder for everybody, in August, you're going to hear the best of Unhack. I got Reed to do an episode in August as well, but you won't hear me do another live-ish episode unless Drex talks me into it. Maybe I'll do some synthetic Bill interviews and we'll make up some CIOs and just have conversations with them. We'll see what happens. Hey, I want to thank the two of you for coming on. Looking forward to your shows. Unhack with Drex DeFord, Flourish with Sarah Richardson, and this is going to be Keynote with Bill Russell. Thanks. Hey, have a good time in Minneapolis.
And
We
Chicago.
will.
In Chicago tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time we're planting a flag in both cities, and we know we'll be back. We've got great representation the next couple of nights. So happy to be out here doing it. It's fun.
Back in the Midwest. Looking
Back in the
forward to it.
Midwest.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks
That's
all.
That's all for now. Thanks for listening to this week's Keynote. If you found value, share it with a peer. It's a great chance to discuss and in some cases start a mentoring relationship. One way you can support the show is to subscribe and leave us a rating. Love it if you could do that. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.